Hello everyone, it is great to see you again. Today we're looking at another variation of the Sicilian. I think this is going to be our second to last video. Today we're looking at the classical Sicilian. Now the classical Sicilian, kind of most important I would say, because it is classical. Okay, that was a joke, guys. It usually goes e4, c5, knight f6, d6, and then we go d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, in this position knight f6, knight c3, and then here knight c6. And so kind of a basic idea. Both of black's knights are already developed by this, already on the fifth move, and black hasn't committed a lot of pawn moves. We aren't going a5, like the knight dwarf, we're not going e6, we're not going g6. And so still these pawn moves are possible. But this is a really flexible and sound structure, and so that from there comes the name classical. Lots of positional and tactical ideas here, and black can really respond flexibility to their style of the game. Lots of themes here as well. I think white's best options here. First of all, we have the richer rouser attack. This is really most critical to know, but bishop to d5, and then in this position, it pins the knight to the queen later on, and it can often be followed by moving moves like queen d2, long castles here, and so and then really launch an attack on this side with f3, f4, and leading a really sharp play on the king side. And major lines here would be e6, and then queen d2, a6, long castles, bishop to e7, f4, and then castles here. So ideas like this actually is better for white, and so they want something like queen c7, or something like bishop d7, various ideas here. For white, its basic ideas is to go g4, d5, really going for this attack, and also having a bishop here later on h6 later on if there is a full-scale kingside attack. In terms of long-term control, they want to control this d5 square, and so it will use something like, it will move the king to safety and then do something like c4 as well to really gain that control. For black, we can actually expand with the queen side pretty immediately with b5, b4. Also can use this kind of half open c file to do like rook c8, and also really put pressure on c2, c3. We can also do d5 immediately, kind of. This is a dangerous idea, but it really breaks the tension in the center as well. Another possibility here is actually, for the sixth move, is going bishop to c4. And this is what the engine prefers as well, I would say. Bishop to c4, really gaining control of this center. And white in this position can go... Oh, they want g6, the fianchetto, yes. They can actually go e6, and we can go bishop to e3. Wait, I'm very confused. Oh, I am so sorry. That's bishop to c4, e3, and then something like bishop to e3, and then later on bishop e7, and then castles. Instead of long castles, short castles work here, and then if black were to play something like instead of this, we can actually do, again, another bishop move, bishop to b3, various ideas here, kind of sliding away from the center, preventing something like a d5 break, and then black castles, f4, queen c7, and then something like queen to f3. This is a really good idea, a very strong attack here on the f file, and then queen c7 is also kind of countering this as well, so this is a critical move. And then this position, what actually black can do is go knight a5, attacking this bishop, because it really stares down a lot of this diagonal. And what can happen for white is get a quick knight side initiative here, get pressures on various squares as well. And as for black, they can really prepare for a center break with d5. Another classical line for the sixth move is the possibility of bishop to e2, a really classical line, the most classical, I would say. And this is kind of a less aggressive progression of the game. Bishop e7, something like bishop e3, castles, f4 immediately. And f4 kind of you usually must play in Sicilian as white, because that's basically your attack. That's your line there. After queen c7, something like king h1, and then if they play a6, preparing for something like later on even g4 as well. So very aggressive lines here. White's idea is a kingside attack with f4, f5, but slower, I would say, than other moves. More of a long pressure squeeze as well. Also taking control of this d5 square with something like bishop to e3. Later on, just moving your knight. You're moving your bishop here and here can also do this. Black's idea is easy development. Basically, I'm going to bring my rooks out, I'm going to bring my bishops out, and the queen side can also be significant with a6, b5, and other central breaks here as well, various ideas. And so this was really Bobby Fischer's favorite weapon, as why he used to really win against various tactical players with this line. So lots of history here. Also, we have another variation, and I know, you're going to be thinking, oh, the Sicilian thing has so many different ideas. Well, that's really why I'd never play the Sicilian in any competition that I've been to. I don't think I've ever played it, because our understanding is quite shallow. Like, unless you are a really good player, I think it's really difficult to understand the Sicilian fully, and so I try not to play it without a full understanding. I go with something like the Italian or the Ruy Lopez, slightly easier, I would say, than Sicilian. Sicilian is just so technically deep, and so lots of ideas here. But again, going back to this idea, in this position, f3, and then if they play something like e6, bishop to e3, bishop to e7, queen d2, something like castles, and then here white can long castle, like a6, and then white in this position can go really strong, go g4 immediately, hopefully to go g4, g5, h4 later on with really quite fast attacks, and using this kind of pawn wall. What's that pawn wall? Pawn wall to shield their king. In response to this, there is a quite classical response of b5, bishop to b7, this fianchetto, and then rook c8, knight e5. Basically, the ideas that we were looking at often. And so, also central parables here as well, d5 or e5. In this position, they really like the idea of knight d7. I think they want us to kind of reroute and then go somewhere. So go to positions like this. And then the last idea I would say is the fianchetto variation. In this position, this typical kind of setup you'll get is actually g3, e6, bishop g2, bishop e7, castles, bishop to e3, a6, queen e2, queen c7, and so these kind of ideas, a very solid line, I would say. White's central ideas are keeping control of this d5 square, keeping the king really safe and also really flexible, and then hopefully later playing something like f4, f5 as well to get this kingside attack going. What black is trying to do is match white's pace, slowly aiming for a queenside play. It wants to trade bishops. It wants really a lot of free central space to use. And so, yes, various ideas here. I think a lot of the things we've dealt with in our previous videos, so I'll just give you a model game as our conclusion. Okay, so in this position, the sixth move, I am going to show you bishop to e2, a really classical line. And in this position, black can actually play I am sorry. Oh, e6. And then castles. Bishop to e7. Bishop to e3. Castles. And then something like f4. Boop. And then so really, really attacking this right out. And then we can actually do something like, as for them, they can also do something like d7. Bishop d7. I would say king h1 is really good. a6, a4, something like, kind of staving off this queenside attack. And then something like rook c8 possibly. Queen e1 here. Trying to go for this kind of ideas. And in this position, I think black would normally go... Black can actually do e5, this pawn break. They can also play knight takes, d4. And then bishop takes, bishop c6. Taking this out, really taking control of the center. Queen g3 in this position, really good idea. And then if they play something like g6, we can actually play bishop to d3, really trying to put pressure on this line as well. And then as in this position, knight to d7, trying to reroute, really take control of the dark squares here in the center. Rook a to e1 also, really getting the pawn down. Oh, sorry. And then in this position, they really like bishop h4 as well. And trying to question this queen that's here. Queen h3 is pretty good. Queen e3 they also like to put pressure. Queen h3. Bishop f6. That kind of into this, maybe trade it as well. And if they do end up trading like this is actually quite a good position for black. Almost equilibrium, sometimes better for black here as well. So in this position, something like f5 possibly. If you play something like queen g5 in this position, or a queen, they like a queen move here, I would say queen e5 is also really good. And so this is the kind of idea that you'll end up in. And so lots of ideas. Sicilian just offers so many different variations, but the key idea is lots of flexibility in most any variations, including the classical. Lots of risks, and it's best for players who want really good control of the game, who are able to use both tactical and strategic ideas in their game really flexibly. And so the sharpness levels also really vary depending on the players, and so I would definitely say always play with caution when you're playing the Sicilian. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. If I have said anything wrong, please feel free to comment down below. If you have any questions, please do the same, and continue to stay curious, and continue to play chess. Thank you so much for watching, and have an awesome day. Bye.